Could you visualise losing your job and then being at home? I mean, would that mean a vast amount of change in your confidence as a woman?
Very definitely, yes. I've trained for quite a lot of years and actually been in my job quite a lot of years. And yes, I would lose a lot. When I actually was just on maternity leave with Rivka, after about 4 or 5 months, I was Rivka's mummy, I was Mark's wife, or the librarian's wife. I was never me. But then I wasn't actually known in Hexham as a person in my own right prior to that, because I'd always been working outside of the area. Not really, no. The only people that I actually know in Hexham, apart from Trish, I think, are either Mark's friends or friends that I met at antenatal classes.
It's quite
and we relate entirely on a children's level.
It's quite isolating in a way, isn't it? Working away from where you live.
Yes.
Because you come back and you're no one again. I mean, in a sense.
I have 2 totally separate lives. So I have a life when I am at work, where I am a teacher, and being a mother doesn't really enter into that. And then when I come home, I'm a mother. When I'm in Hexham at weekends, I'm a mother, I'm a wife.
Okay, there's your bit. Shall I look after your glasses?
I'd always assumed that when I had children, one of us would actually give up work for children.
This is interesting. I'd assumed the exact opposite. I think probably because of the background that I come from, where both parents did work. Although I understand my mother did actually give up work in the early years, but from my memory, she was always working. So my assumption was that if I ever got round to marrying and having children, it would be to a working partner.
Interesting that you didn't assume that you could give up work and be the sort of house father and mother.
No, it wasn't an assumption, because, as I say, the norm for me was 2 working parents. When it actually came to it, and we discussed how we were going to cope, then I was, at least in theory, quite happy with the idea of, if it came to that, of me giving up work. Because in fact, Jill did and still does actually earn slightly more than I do. So from a financial point of view, it would have made sense.
Would you actually want to give up work and become a mother at home?
With the advantage of 3 years hindsight, no. But I had no ideological objections to it.
Now, Mark says that his working pattern was to see his mother and father as 2 of them working, right? But was that the setup in your own home?
No, definitely not. My mum gave up work before she actually had me, with an aim to having children, and she didn't go back to work until, I must have been about 9, 10. And then she wasn't sure about it. I don't think either of my parents were.
But they had a conventional idea that perhaps the man goes out to work and the woman stays home to nurture the nest. Yeah. And I wonder whether that we've clung too long to the idea that man works and woman doesn't. I mean, it's obviously, in a lot of women, there's a need, isn't there, to be both things, all things.
Yes, I think there's as much need in a woman to be everything as there is in a man to be everything, to cover each other and take each other's strengths. Hello. Got home early.
Oh, yes. Oh, nice. What have you made a place for? Oh, that's really nice.
Do you think that it's still all right for men to be ambitious, but if a woman is ambitious, it's still regarded, in some circles, as more aggressive than commendable?
Yes, that's right. And yet men have sort of got the run of the home now, in a way. We expect more of men in the house. Like Mark does an awful lot of the cooking and a lot of the cleaning, as we've already said. And that's wonderful. I appreciate it, everybody appreciates it. He gets a lot of praise for that. But I seem to be put down because I'm working outside of the home by an awful lot of people.
Well, including women or not?
Oh, definitely, yes. Sometimes women are the worst in that respect. Not always. Not always.
It's very annoying because I think that what happens is that people seem to think that if you work, you're not being such a good mother.
That's right. And if you're a mother and work, you're neither good at work or a good mother, and certainly not a good wife and housewife.
But I mean, can't you defend yourself in that way? I mean, why aren't you able to say, well, by being good at my work, I'm also then very good at being a mother because I've got the zest to do it.
Yeah, I think that's quite an important point. Men have never been criticised for working outside of the home and coming home and being good fathers, especially since the role change has been fairly obvious. And men are expected, as I said before, to be fathers in the home and to look after the children almost as much as women when they're around. It should be the same for us too, but I don't think it is.
But do you think that you still have to be twice as good as a man in the same job if you're a woman?
I think women do, yes. And because possibly of the guilt factor or because of the fact that everyone's saying what a bad mother you are, you tend to work twice as hard at home as well. So you're working twice as hard outside of the home and twice as hard inside the home.
But is that a stress, say, that you put on yourself because of your nature, being, say, conscientious, or do you think that is a stress that is laden on to you by society, so to speak?
I think it's a bit of both. Yes, you're very concerned that you do prove to yourself that you're a good mother and prove that you're good at your job.
I think it's helped greatly that I live within walking distance of work. But it does mean that I'm able to get the children ready in the morning. Jill solely has to get herself out. Because she's a teacher, is able to get back in time to collect the children in the evening. Because I work late some nights a week. So I can hand the children over to the childminder and get to work in time.
I must say I love all the paraphernalia of a library. I wished I was a librarian.
Yes, it's an interesting job. It has quite a lot to get different aspects to it. One of the joys of public libraries, I think, is always that you never know what the next question is going to be.
No, exactly. But I tell you what, my next question is that do you think that, as a chap, it's important for you to see yourself, so to speak, through your job? You know, like, I mean, you've got a status, haven't you, in Hexham? You are Mark, the librarian.
Yes, I don't think it's necessarily important, as you say, as a chap, but I think I quite liked the idea of being in a small community where I would have some status within it, not status in an ego idea, but just that I would register within the community, whereas in London, one was just another face in the crowd.
But say, for instance, you became Mark unemployed or Mark father.
I think.
How would you feel?
While I stayed in Hexham, I don't think that would be a problem. Because I've been up here for 13 years now, and my face is known as one of the people in Hexham. Obviously, if we moved for some reason to another community, that might well be a problem.
Drink. Yes?
I think Jill has been trained by her mother's society or whatever to do the general housekeeping duties. And to a certain extent, I accede to that training. I will do the cleaning, generally. My level of tolerance of dust, despite being an asthmatic, is considerably higher than Jill's, so that Jill will tend to be doing it before I sort of really feel it needs doing. Which means that it does tend to fall on Jill by default.
It's quite interesting that my parents' generation, I think, when they were choosing their partners, were looking for, the women in particular, were looking for a good provider, and they would make the home. Whereas that didn't particularly come into my calculations when I was looking for a partner. I don't think it was quite as cold and calculated in either case as it sounds, but I knew that I had a good job, I had a good career, and actually being provided for never actually entered my thoughts. I was looking for a partner that would work equally with me, both in the home and outside of the home, and we could respect each other's work roles and home roles, and both parent together.
Do you think it was slightly easier, aside from the fact that you met perfect Mark, aside from that, do you think it was to do with the fact that you were both older when you met, that it made it easier? Because you were already settled, weren't you, in your job, really?
Yes, I was very settled in my job. I'd actually got to where I wanted to be in my career. And in a sense, I was looking for a partner and had almost a list of criteria. And I think Mark did the same, really. We knew the sort of person we were looking for. And because I was settled in my career, I didn't want to leave my career. I spent a lot of years training and a lot of years building it up and enjoying it. I enjoyed my work. And similarly, I expected the same from a husband.
Do you actually think that that's a bad thing?
No.
No?
No, definitely not. I think society has got to adjust its attitude to the fact that marriage and partnerships within society have changed. They have changed. There's no denying that, and that's not necessarily bad. As Mark was actually saying, we can't go backwards, and it's evolved. Society has evolved. We can't prevent that.